Well, my name is Cathy Wheaton, and I am the coordinator for the Roots of Hope project here in Air Ronge. I work at the Air Ronge Health Center, and I'm northern Manitoba raised. This is my home community of my First Nation, and this is where my mother grew up actually. And so that's my connection to Air Ronge. I've been living here about 12 years now. I lived here before as well. So I'm pretty much a lifetime northerner, and I started with Roots of Hope in early 2018, and that was when we just kind of established it.
Now, really quickly, what happened to your leg? Did you trip over the massive potential that you have in this role?
Well, I wish I could say yes to that, but I just tripped walking, so I'm gonna have to practice that.
I'm just really happy that you could have me and NBC here in your home. As people might see, you've had a little bit of a mobility issue, yes. So rather than meeting maybe at an office or at the hospital or something like that, you've welcomed me into your home to talk to you a little bit. So I really appreciate your hospitality. We're here today just to talk a little bit about Roots of Hope and to see what the program and yourself and all of that stuff has been up to in the 2 years since it's been since it was announced. And what's your personal background, education, history? You mentioned where you're from, but what led you to this role?
Well, I am actually one of the only people that works in mental health and addictions who's not an actual counselor. I don't have a clinical background at all. I don't actually have a health training background. I have a research background, and I worked in management quite a bit. So, I did do some work during the suicide crisis that we had in 2016, where I was assisting staff who were working in Lac La Ronge Indian Band Health Services who were assisting during the community crisis. And that's kind of where I got that kind of in-person insight to what was happening during that crisis. And when they were looking for somebody for this project, I really wanted to go beyond the crisis response to seeing, well, is there anything I can do to help, do something about what happened in the first place. So that was how I got my interest in this particular project.
And what is Roots of Hope?
So Roots of Hope is actually a project. It's not really a program or a service. It's actually a project, and it's a research demonstration project. It is being run by the Mental Health Commission of Canada. And they've done research demonstration projects in the past. They've done them on addiction services. They've done them on e-health or mental health services as well. And a research demonstration project is actually an opportunity to try some new innovative approaches to offering health care or health services or education. And then what you do is over the course of delivery, you evaluate what it is that you're doing to see how effective it is. And at the end of the research project, you analyze your results and produce a report, and then that's shared across Canada so that if you come up with some really new innovative programs that work really well, you can actually recommend those to other communities to perhaps adopt.
We've heard a lot, at least in Saskatchewan, about the dynamic nature of tackling suicide and how the causes or conditions that lead to that kind of ideation might be highly individualized amongst communities. So it kind of seems like this is a grassroots way to find best practices where they're appropriate and then share to create a larger understanding of how dynamic this issue could be and how we could tackle it.
Right, exactly. And the community has a lot of ideas. When we first started the project, one of the first things that we did is we first of all asked community, what are the things that you see that we need to actually do in the community to try and mitigate the problem that would suit what was happening here versus maybe a generic approach from another program that may or may not fit well here culturally, and we're a northern community, we're also quite remote compared to maybe an urban center. So having that ability to actually take those ideas and look at which ones we can work with through the Roots of Hope project was a really good opportunity for us.
And we are outside here on Cathy's back porch, so you can play a little game of who is more attractive to the black flies. I think I'm winning right now. But this is so that we can safely social distance in the COVID reality and have our 6 feet without wearing masks. Because when you're talking about something sensitive like this, it's important to see who's speaking and really get that emotional connection. So we didn't want to wear masks so that you could get a better read on both of us in this conversation. So we're going to be being eaten a little bit, but bear with us. Just before we get more into Roots of Hope, you mentioned that you were a researcher. That you came from that kind of lens. So can you talk a little bit about your previous research? Like, were you at all involved with community health or?
That actually isn't really my background. It's specifically in health. It's not a. I was looking at a lot of socioeconomic issues that impact Indigenous people. I was looking specifically at one time at employment and education, those kinds of outcomes. But at the same time, a lot of the historic and cultural change that's happened in this community has created a lot of stress, cultural stress, personal stress, family stress, those kinds of things. So when we're looking at a bigger issue like suicide or addiction or anything like that, there's the underlying root causes of what's driving those kinds of things to happen can be very important when you're looking at solutions. Because there's an upstream approach as well as, you know, actually helping someone who's already going this. But you're always wanting to think of, okay, what are some of those things that are underlying what it is that we're trying to work with solutions towards, what's driving this to happen in the first place. So I think that having that background is actually really important in doing this project, and it's things that we need to understand. We need to understand how change has had its impact on people.
I think that's a great background to bring to a project such as this. As you mentioned, that's part of the reason why the province has been apprehensive to create a one strategy that fits everything. I think is because there's all this myriad of conditions that may be different community to community, and one size maybe doesn't fit all. And we need to look at those root causes that include socioeconomics to see where. What the right strategy might be in our communities. So was that through ICNGD, the International Center for Northern Governance and Development? Because that's where I remember you from.
Actually, what I did is I did my research on traditional harvesting practices in northern Saskatchewan, because I was looking at within my family, we participated in fur trade. And I was looking at other aspects of traditional harvesting in northern Saskatchewan, and then also what are some of the impacts on subsistence harvesting, and then also northern development, mining, etc., and how were those things actually being addressed. So yeah, pretty different from this, but in some ways similar too.
We mentioned Roots of Canada is a national campaign. How many different offices or locations are there in Canada?
Well, they have them in Eastern Canada, I believe Labrador, New Brunswick, Waterloo, Ontario, Edmonton, Alberta. We're the only province actually that has 3 projects. We've got one in Meadow Lake and Isle La Crosse as well.
Wow.
And then Air Ronge, and then Nunavut as well. So I believe there's 9 projects altogether now. Some of them have just started, and Air Ronge has actually been around for a bit of a while. So they were not exactly all starting at the same exact time and ending at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really good that we have an Arctic Nunavut roots of hope too, and that the roots can permeate through that permafrost. So that's awesome. I'm just getting a little love over here. So why is it, do you think that Saskatchewan has 3 out of 8 or 9 locations? Does that speak to a higher incidence of suicide in the province, or is there something else that drives that?
I think that once we did our first project here, and other communities in the north heard about it, I think that stimulated the interest, and then more projects started in the north because of that. And it is an issue of concern in the north, so it makes sense as to why that happened. And yeah, so even having 3 in northern Saskatchewan, they're still all very unique as well. So we'll all be trying different things, which is even better.
Do you coordinate at all with the other offices in Saskatchewan? I know you said that they're opening at different times. Like the one in Buffalo Narrows, super new. I tried to reach out and got a name there, but I was told that they basically just came into the position. Mm-hmm. But I also do have Anne, I hope I don't, Duriez, in Meadow, who I'm hoping to speak with as well. Like, you had said that it's very individualized and you're given a lot of free reign in terms of where you take it. But do you work with those other two offices, or will you?
Well, actually, we do share ideas. And we were actually planning a joint project at one time, but COVID kind of got in the middle there, so we're not proceeding with that right away. So there's definitely when we have opportunities to collaborate on mutual things, we can actually work together when we want to. So I'll just give you a real basic of how the research project goes. There's several phases. Sure. So there's a planning phase. That's when you're just kind of establishing how your project's going to operate, and you're gathering your initial information, getting your committees together of people that are going to provide input into your project, formulating an action plan from the ideas that you gather, and your structure, how you're actually going to structure it.
And how long is that phase?
It can range from a year to 2 years, depending on how it's working. And sometimes you don't have a coordinator in place as well, so you might not do that right away. So it can take a little longer sometimes if there's no coordinator. Then once you actually get everything all lined up and ready to go, and you've got your action plan that tells you all the activities you want to actually work on, then there should be about a 2-year window when you're actually doing those activities. The whole time you're doing it, you're also evaluating everything. So we actually work with a research scientist who designs how we're going to measure our outcomes and evaluate all of our activities as they occur. And then that person's also helping to gather the data. So there's actually a principal researcher that's part of Roots of Hope that coordinates all that research gathering and evaluation as well. So that's the other part of Roots of Hope, is the research and evaluation. And then over the course of those 2 years, you could have numerous activities happening. And by the end of the 2 years, what you're doing is you're going back, you're gathering all that data, doing an analysis, and then seeing, okay, well, what worked really well, what maybe didn't work so well, and then you work on creating a report for that. And then all of the project information is rolled up into a big report. And then that would be disseminated nationally, that all that research results that you've gathered over the course of all those projects. And with this many projects, that can take a while. So usually the analysis, the rollout, and the dissemination of information back to the public and back to those communities and other communities, that takes another couple years to do that part as well. So that's kind of the cycle of how to run that demonstration project.
So each, if I'm understanding you correctly, each location is almost a 5-year kind of thing?
Yeah, it can be around 5 years. It's a little, it's not exactly, just because we didn't all start on the same exact day, and yeah, so.
So what point are you at with your location in that scheme?
Well, we are supposed to be going into the second year now. However, because of COVID, we might actually do a bit of an extension, because a lot of the stuff we were going to work on actually got either postponed or canceled. So now we're looking at maybe we're going to add a little bit extra time into our project and maybe other projects, so that we can do 2 full years of planned activities.
Just gonna let these pooches keep us safe for a minute. I mean, that's so much hard work, I'm sure, on your end to plan things that may never come to fruition, which is so unfortunate. So, what had you been working on in the past year that has been displaced by COVID, or that may not happen?
There was a really great event that was supposed to happen right on March 31st. And
This year?
yes. And what happened was, it was actually a youth anti-stigma gathering. It was going to be workshops. We were going to bring speakers in. We had people had their plane tickets already booked and everything. And it was a workshop that they've done all across Canada. We wanted to bring it to the local youth here. We were going to bring youth in from different communities in our project area to come in and spend a day together to learn about mental health, anti-stigma. And then COVID hit and we had to cancel the event. It wasn't even 2 weeks before they shut the schools down. So that is now being adapted so that we can go online, and we're hoping maybe early 2021 we might actually still do the summit, but in a totally different way. So it's really changed a lot of the bigger things we had planned on doing at one time. Assist training, safe talk training, that was face-to-face training. We can't do that anymore either. So yeah, COVID has had an impact on some of the plans that we did have. So I'm hoping that we're going to do that extension so that, we can do a few new things that we couldn't do before, and then that way we make up for any of that lost time that we lost.
Yeah. It's admirable, though, that, and I think wise that to think about, well, how do we salvage this? How do we take the same core heart and soul of the programming and offer it in a way that's still safe? Really quickly, can you go into those two? There's Safe Talk and then another one that were more in person.
Right.
Can you differentiate between those two and what those might have been?
So we have 3 different suicide intervention training programs that we offer.
Nice.
We had a 2-day course. It was called Assist. And that was actually training that we've offered in the community for a number of years before Roots of Hope even was on the scene. I'm actually a trained facilitator to do the half-day 4-hour session, which is called Safe Talk. And now we have a brand new one that was developed. All these training programs are offered by Living Works, which is a commercial organization that develops suicide intervention training. And we're now offering the online version, which is brand new. And it just came out actually about 6 months before COVID hit. So it worked out, the timing worked out perfect, and we're actually offering that now instead of the 2 face-to-face ones that we've had to put on hold.
I did see some stuff online about this, some advertising, and also at the radio station where I work, I think I might have heard a radio ad for it. So what is this new distance-based training that people can take, and how much does it cost?
Well, if you live in the Roots of Hope project area, I'll pay for it. So La Ronge, town of La Ronge, village of Air Ronge, and then Lac La Ronge Indian Band communities within that area. Also Sucker River, Grandmother's Bay, Stanley Mission, and then Hull Lake Sikachu. And it won't cost you anything. So you just have to get a hold of me at my email or my phone number and then say that you're interested. And then all you need is access to a computer with internet or access to service through a smartphone. And then what you can do is you can take the training, and it's not as long as the face-to-face training. It's between 60 to 90 minutes long. It's videos, it's interactive, and the people that have taken it already have all said they would recommend a training to someone else. And a lot of those individuals have taken the 1 and 2 day face-to-face sessions, and yet they still said that they learned a lot from taking that shorter online program.
In just 90 minutes, this interactive online training will prepare you with the knowledge and skills to save a life. With engaging simulations and lifetime resources, Living Work Start is your way to make a world of difference for someone, because you never know who's going to need you. But with Living Work Start, you'll be prepared.
So if you are in any of those communities, you should take the START training to recognize some of the signs to help save a life. If you'd like to take it, but you can't find time, maybe appeal to your employer. If you do work in an area where you may be interacting with people that are youth or are at risk for this kind of thing, and really we all are living in the north, low vitamin D, some employers might say yes, and then you've got an asset to your community.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I'm so thankful that exists, and I look forward to taking it.
And you know, the thing, Brandon, is there's no profile of someone who could be potentially at risk. It could be anybody. It could be someone that's got everything is working out great for them. But people don't often share the things that they're thinking about with other people. So you may or may not realize that someone's at risk. So I would recommend anybody to take training like that, so that no matter who they come across, sometimes it's someone you don't even know, that you know what to do. So it's really important to have that training, and then you have that security of knowing if it ever happens, I know what to say and I know what to do.
You mentioned via SAFE training that it's shorter and everybody should really be taking it. Can you give us a little something from the training that people might learn that they might not know?
Well, let's say that you think that someone might be at risk, but you're not sure what to say. Mm-hmm. It actually teaches you how to ask if someone is at risk of suicide. That's a very difficult thing for people to do. It's one of the things that you learn in the training is you are not going to cause somebody to want to commit suicide just by asking that question. Are you thinking of taking your life, or are you thinking of suicide? That is not something that will give a person the reason to actually do it. But it's something that before I took the training, I was scared to ask that question. Well, the training actually teaches you how to do that. And then you feel like, you know, if I really had to find out, I would know how to ask that really important question. And people are often giving us hints because they can't say that they are, but they may drop hints. So it helps you to have that really clear conversation, and people will feel really relieved if that's the answer, because now they feel like they can finally tell somebody what it is that is troubling them.
If you want to learn those signs and the hints that people give, take this training, and it will really help you to be a better ally and friend. Is there anything else in your personal life or in this role that was affected by COVID? We've done a really good job of demonstrating how all the work that you put into that first year was kind of delayed. But is there anything else that it kind of affected?
Well, you know, it forced us to rethink how we were going to deliver. We couldn't do face-to-face delivery anymore. Now we've got a social media presence, which is brand new to Roots of Hope projects anywhere. We're kind of the first project to do that. And I think actually it was a great thing for us to move into that area. It was a negative reason why we ended up doing it, but I think it was a really good idea. And now we're starting to do stuff that we never even thought of doing before. So, it's kind of pushed us into a new direction in a positive way.
Well, a lot of people are on social media, especially young people, and even Mark Zuck himself has hired many, many, many people to look at the bullying problem, to look at the exposure problem that might be impacting our youth and just everybody from being on these platforms. So I think it is probably a good idea that Roots of Hope be on there. And I just want to reiterate, your office here in La Ronge is the first out of any in Canada to be on social media.
Yes, we're the first Roots of Hope project to have a social media page, and we're doing so much stuff on it now. It's great. It's an educational forum. We're getting communication out there. We're doing online presentations. It's working out really well.
When people go to the Roots of Hope page, they might think, my God, she has so much to do on her own. But you're not on your own. So who are these working groups or panels or boards? Like who do you leverage in the community to achieve the goals that you set?
Well, we've got community members that are part of our committees. We've got several committees. We've got kind of a larger advisory committee, and then we've got some working committees. And then we've got people, some of them are working for different agencies. Like we have someone from the Youth Action Prevention, I forget what it's called. It's a Northern Youth Initiative. Their coordinator is actually working with us. We've got someone that is working with Pewappin. We've got people from Northern Light School Division. We've got individuals from the Senator de Mosvent School. We've got band education. We've got just people from different agencies who are all working very much with youth and children in the community that are part of the project. So their input, their insights actually go into the different activities that we develop as well. Also RCMP. We've had RCMP as well helping too, because they're often helping people in the community as well.
Is there anything that the communities, the tri-communities, can do to help Roots of Hope, or how can we help keep this thing strong and keep growing?
If you have ideas, if you're interested in sharing information, how you support the community, what you'd like to see, get a hold of me. I'd be more than happy to listen to your ideas. And also, if you wanted to sit on one of the committees and help work on some of our project activities, that would be great too.
Wow. So many, many opportunities. Just inquire.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. That's the end of the questions I had for you, and you've been very gracious with your time. I took most of the black flies. You're welcome. But if there's anything else you want to talk about, floor is yours.